Welcome to City Cinematheque, where the art and pleasure of the movies are the subject of serious discussion. I'm your host, Jerry Carlson, and I teach film studies at the City College of the City University of New York. Today, it's our pleasure to present the 2001 Mexican film, El Sueño del Caíman, Caiman's Dream, directed by the young Mexican director, Beto Gómez. Now, this film is a dark comedy set in contemporary Mexico. You might think of it as Dog Day Afternoon Goes to Guadalajara. It also has trenchant commentary about a number of aspects of contemporary Mexican society, always with a comic, but dark comic, accent. We'll be talking about those aspects and other things after today's screening. It's a pleasure to welcome to City Cinematheque Professor Araceli Tinajero, one of my colleagues at the City College. Now, enjoy this trip to Guadalajara in El Sueño del Caíman. Welcome back to City Cinematheque. I hope you've enjoyed this voyage into the dark comic territory of Beto Gómez's El Sueño del Caíman. A delightful film, a light film in certain ways, a dark film in other ways, and a rich film in many ways. We have 30 minutes to chat about that, and in those 30 minutes, it's a pleasure to welcome here my colleague from the City College, Professor Araceli Tinajero.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Araceli has devoted her research for the previous decade or so to the subject of the Far East and Latin America, and she's currently teaching a wide variety of courses on Latin American, Mexican literature, culture, and the arts. Good to have you here, Araceli.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Let's start not in Mexico, but let's start in Spain, where the film begins.
Right.
So why, I mean, you know, in one sense you can say the film needs to begin in Spain because it's a Mexican-Spanish co-production and it's put together as a deal in that way. Okay, so we've said that. But there are story reasons why it begins there. What do you make of the fact that we begin in Spain and then we arrive in Mexico? How does that contribute to the film?
Well, it's tradition in a sense that it's going back to the origins of Mexican society. I mean, since Mexico has been together with Spain for the last 500 plus years.
Right.
So it's really, in a sense, going back, but it also defamiliarizes the audience, no? Because we are expecting, obviously, a film filmed in Mexico, and then it takes us to Spain, to a place that is so unfamiliar.
Right.
It's not Barcelona, it's not Madrid. So in a sense, it was very nicely done, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. And then we do get to Mexico and we start discovering Mexico through the experience of our protagonist.
Yes. It's very interesting that he lands into this pueblo, in Jalisco, the state of Jalisco, where Guadalajara is, called Tequila, which is, it's a little bit too Mexican.
Right.
So like from Spain to very Mexican, this pueblo, Tequila, it's very interesting. And the tequila fields.
Right.
So it goes back to the heart of Mexico.
Yeah, very much so. And for the non-Spanish speakers in our audience, though we have many Spanish speakers who do watch the show, the contrast in accents and in language is extreme.
Yes, it is extreme. To a certain extent, because when the characters are speaking in Spain, obviously that's the normal Spanish language. But when we move to Mexico, for instance, Iñaki's father, Patsy, his Spanish is a little bit more slow. It's not as fast as in Spain. This may have to do with the fact that he has been in Mexico for so long that he is ought to speak like a Mexican, a little bit more slow.
Right.
But yeah, there is a sharp difference.
Right. And Caiman, how about the way he speaks?
Oh, that's a little bit too Mexican, but it's also very too true. That's the way a Mexican of that class speaks.
Right.
Yes, yes. We call it calo. The type of language, idioms. Some of the idioms he uses that are lower class people type of Spanish and codes. There are only codes that only Mexicans will understand, so he speaks like that.
Right, and you can sense that, by the way, through some of the rhythms of the language that are different, because that is not, I have to say, that is not. It's very difficult to translate that through subtitles, and that's an issue because there's so many idioms or just even rhythms of exchange that are quite characteristic that you can't really get into an English subtitle. But I think an audience can sense by sort of analogy with something like, say, the urban films of Martin Scorsese and that very New York vernacular kinds of English that his characters are speaking here. Something parallel to that is going on with these petty hoods or petty thieves from this town.
Exactly. So, but I mean, it's nice to hear it. I mean, the musicality of the language, and I think that's what a non-Spanish speaker will capture, and it will be quite entertaining and very melodic, very nice. So, but yes, speaking of this character, I think that he played a very, very good role, El Caiman.
Oh, absolutely.
He was excellent, I believe. I mean,
well, and won an award at one of the festivals as the best actor. I think much deserved recognition.
Oh yes. He reminds me one of the characters of Amores Perros.
Right.
Because I mean, it's very interesting that also this film. I mean, going back to El Sueño del Caíman, like this is in the countryside. In the countryside, right? I mean, countryside. I mean, I'm from Mexico City, and we always, for us,
everything else is the countryside, right?
But it's in Guadalajara, if I'm correct. So, I mean, someone from Guadalajara wouldn't like to hear this, of course. I apologize, but yes, it's very, very interesting. But he reminds me. What I'm trying to say is that this type of characters of this type of people abound.
Right, exactly, and that's part of, by the way, the comedy of the film is that the film does depend to a certain degree upon, as most comedies in all cultures do, upon stereotyping. That there's an immediate recognition of where someone fits into the social order.
Yes.
And here we would have to include Aunt Carmen, who is of course played by a man.
Yes. That was very interesting. It was very interesting because for a second I thought that Auntie Carmen was El Caiman.
Right.
For a second I thought it was a dream. And it's not a dream, it's reality. And it was very interesting that this transvestite played a role. But still, the mother figure, the auntie there, for the two sisters, to have this figure, at least, and this mother figure, that I think that was very important, whether behind the scenes this was a man. So that was very, very cute, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that brings us to a very interesting question, which you've already popped the word, and that is motherhood and the family in this film. And what do you? In a certain sense, the key mother figure who's throughout the film is Aunt Carmen, played by a transvestite. So what's the status of motherhood and of family relations here?
Well, everybody is missing either the father or the mother. Iñaki, he missed his father all these years. Therefore, he goes, and then he goes with the father, and the mother is not there. And then we have El Caiman, who has this terrible guilt. About his mom, this tremendous guilt that is like this phantom, this shadow behind him all the time. The two girls that live with Auntie Carmen is nice, but they don't have a mother or a father there. And then we have also El Nene, whose father was killed, in the robbery.
Yeah.
So everybody's missing somebody. And also the old gentleman, what's his name?
Tomasito.
Tomasito. Also, he lost his family in a gas explosion.
Exactly.
Which is all there is this vacuum, this emptiness, but also very true of Mexican society, because I mean, yes, we consecrate, we love the family. It's beautiful, but many times the mother is missing or the father is missing. There are a lot of single mothers who live with their children and with their aunties or with their friends or with somebody. So the children always have someone hanging around, but that doesn't mean that is the father or the mother.
Right.
So, and that is very, very typical, particularly in lower class, or I don't know. I believe, I have this belief that middle class pretty much doesn't exist anymore in Mexico. So what I was going to say in lower class, what I meant is the lower of the lower class.
Right.
So that's a very true fact. So something that the Mexican audience could identify.
Well, and that's also one of the ways in which Mexico has experienced a kind of convulsive modernization in the 20th century. That going to this little town initially of Tequila is actually, in one sense, an odd thing, because with the urbanization and industrialization of Mexico, with the creation of the 20th century, now 21st century Mexico City, one of the great megapolises of the world, you've moved from a society which was essentially, before the revolution, feudal in its structure.
Exactly.
With peasant extended families as support groups, now into those families having migrated from the countryside to the cities, and then fragmented by the life of the cities.
Yes, and also not only in the cities, but in the outskirts of the cities.
Absolutely.
Because in Mexico, I mean, you cannot draw a line where you can do it geographically. Yes, the city ends here, but it doesn't end there. It keeps going on, and since it's a valley, then you see all these belts of developing little towns that are around the city, and there is a lot of poverty there and fragmentation and a lot of problems. And yes, but it's interesting to see that this happens also in little towns, as you said, this fragmentation and everything. But going back to the family, I mean, even though these people are missing the mother, the father, and everything, the fact that they live in what we call a vecindad, which was probably a long time ago a house of an aristocrat or someone who had a lot of money. So they decided to make little apartments inside. So it's like an apartment house. It's it's an apartment house. So everybody shares things there. In Cuba, they call them solares. In Mexico, we call them vecindad. So if someone who lives in a vecindad is someone who really doesn't have money, these people. But there is a lot of harmony there. There is a lot of good communication and a sense of familyhood.
Right. Yes. It's this recreation of an extended family, but not through the actual blood ties, but again through the community created by essentially what we would also call just this boarding house. And one of the for me, one of the marvelous scenes of that is the final chapter of the telenovela that they're all watching together.
Yes. Exactly. Because I mean, long time ago we could have said, because someone had a TV, but that's not true. Even now, everybody may have a TV, but getting together, sitting down to watch together, doing things together. Like at the beginning of the film, also it was the birthday of Auntie Carmen, and everybody went. And there is always, and in Mexican society, there is always an excuse to get together and to have a party.
Right.
I mean, for everything, have a party. So I mean, it doesn't have to be the birthday of anybody, but let's have a party because today's my last day of classes.
Right.
And boom. That's the occasion. So there is always constant going on, constant gathering, constant celebrating. And I saw this in the film also.
Well, I think, you've seen what was in the film. What's very interesting is that while this is a film that in its last 20 minutes or so has an action sequence, which we can talk about in a few minutes, what the bank robbery means, the point is that the majority of this film is actually just observing this immediate community and their social relations, giving this, I think in many ways charming but fairly nuanced portraiture of the hopes and the dreams of these people who are, living at the margins and who will at certain times talk about that. I mean, when they're candid with themselves or with one another, they'll talk about, do you want to be selling tacos for the rest of your life?
Correct. Correct.
That's what other options do we have?
Exactly.
In those ways, and so there's a kind of social candor here within the comic context.
Exactly. Because what is the other option exactly in a town like that? I mean, to emigrate to the United States, that's what a lot of people do in towns like that. I mean, my only way out is to go to the United States, right? To cross the border, right? So that was not brought into this, which is, it's nice. I mean, robbery was obviously not a good option either, but it really.
Well, the only indication we have of that is the degree to which Caiman is only a semi-successful car thief, because we do have the comic scene in which he shows up in the classic Thunderbird, and in which his contact, his fence says, but this is not what people are buying anymore. And you know that he's somehow gotten himself to the United States, stolen the car, gotten it across the border, but it's the wrong thing. He can't sort of negotiate that relationship as a thief.
Yes, and it's very interesting because his dream was about going towards the water in Tamaulipas state in Mexico, which is very, I mean, it's a place where usually Mexicans wouldn't dream of going to. It's very interesting that his dream wasn't going, say, Acapulco, or going to the north, to the United States, or going down to Brazil, so going somewhere. No, it's going within Mexico to see the sea by there, about Matamoros, which is a big city but run down, a lot of prostitution and problems.
Exactly.
A lot of problems. So that was his dream, going to this place. I mean, it's a little bit strange.
And he's always, but that's one of the things that we know these are not going to be successful thieves. I mean, we know that from first of all, from that emblematic first episode of stealing a car, that he's not stealing even a car presumably from the right epoch. He says it's a gas guzzler, but also because everything is just a little bit off in his thinking or their thinking. We have the Basque who are with the Mexicans. They're just sitting around. They're sort of caring for the son of their former colleague who seems to have been killed in the previous robbery. But this isn't really so much caring. They're just sitting around playing cards with the kid. Nothing more than that. And another topic you and I had wanted to bring up. This brings up this whole question of how the film shows us and how these characters use popular culture of Mexico.
It's all the way through the film. I mean, one is the music, which is I think that they did a great job. All very old traditional songs and less heard songs, which is very nice. That music, but also the role of the masks, the wrestling, and because it shows how important wrestling is to Mexicans, and it's very important and very part of the culture that we really like. Something is a part of us that we grew, my generation, we grew up with that, with these films of Santo el Enmascarado de Plata, these shows and films, and it was a real character that he never took off his masks. So there are masks throughout this film, and that touches. Touches the Mexicans' hearts. It touched mine for sure, because there are not only masks in the ring, but also the mask that they wear. It was very interesting because Patsy wore this mask that is like the death, and we are so familiar with the death mask. It's so part of the Day of the Dead for us. if someone is wearing a mask like that, I mean, it will be something like, oh, cool.
Okay. Well, you know, you bring up, I think it's worth staying on the wrestling issue just for a second, because, I mean, certainly, you know, there are in Mexico, the nationally televised kinds of events like we have, the nationally televised events, but the degree to which wrestling or lucha libre,
yes.
You know, trickles down into neighborhood wrestling associations, which are what we in the United States would call semi-professional. Everybody else has another job. They're a baker during the week, or they're a delivery person, but they're transformed in the weekend when they go and do battle there. And not only are they transformed, the performers, but the audience is transformed. And that the whole notion that you can go, not only can you watch it on TV or go to one of the bigger events, but that throughout Mexico, in cities and in towns, there is this tradition of this being a meeting place in which everybody gets to play different roles. Not just the people in the ring, but all the people have their roles as spectators that take on different characteristics and masks. And you are on Saturday night watching lucha libre. You are another person.
Exactly, and that we have a lot of little arenas, even in Mexico City.
Right. Yeah.
We have little arenas, and the whole family goes to see, because we saw this in the film. There was a grandmother in the first line.
Right.
So we have the grandmother and the children and everybody, and I mean, for the children, they love it. So we grew up with that. If not going to the arena, we had our TV and everything. So that was fantastic, and it's so much part of the culture, so much part of, and it's affordable as well.
Well, I have to brag a little bit about our university, and specifically our campus. So 2 years ago, in our Master of Fine Arts program at City College, we had a very good young documentarian who's now actually doing some teaching in CUNY, Deanna Davis, and she did a marvelous documentary on one of the little arenas in the city of Veracruz, and she chronicled the life of the community and all the people going to see the wrestling on a Saturday night, and gave exactly a portrait of the social texture of this and its relationship to the community that you've been talking about.
Well, I think that's very good that they have done that, because when these parts of culture die out, then and there are not documentaries, there is no history written about it, then they fade away.
Right.
So that's this movie. What does very well is that it's rescuing that part of the culture that is so important for us Mexicans. Right. And I mean, I have to brag about this, but Mexican exported a lot of their wrestlers to Japan. They were loved in Japan. I mean, there are groups of wrestlers that go now from Japan to Mexico to learn about the style. They loved the Mexican mask and everything.
Well,
so.
You forced me into a confession here. I grew up in North Texas, and in my high school yearbook, I was a member of the cross-country team, and we posed for our team picture at one point wearing Mexican wrestling masks.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So much was the penetration of this. Well, there's another subject, I think, that's of great interest here that we haven't had a chance to get to, and that's actually the ending of the film and this bank robbery and hostage situation. Now, it doesn't really work out in the way in which it probably would in an American film with an American vision of these things. What are some of those differences, and what's going on in this scene, Araceli?
Well, it was quite funny, I think. It was quite delighting to see all the masks, and I guess the audience already knew that something terribly wrong was going to happen. But it was quite funny for several reasons. One is seeing at them talking to each other with a mask,
right.
which again take us back to the wrestling business, and also the fact that the police, the role that the police play
right.
is so typical, that they are so irresponsible. For them, eating was more important. They missed the guy who they were going to target. They made so many mistakes, and also the robbers are laughing at them. Right. So really a critique on the corruption of the police, and also funny enough, the car that they steal. Right. Where Nene is waiting outside. It belongs to the PRI. So they are really laughing at the system too.
Right. Let me just explain to those people who don't know that was the dominant party that ran Mexico for 75 years and more. So you know, they're stealing the car from the political bosses, but it's a Volkswagen. I mean,
yes, but also I guess the message there was for the Mexican audience was the corruption,
right.
The corruption, because that could have been someone from the party really stealing the bank.
Right.
So that's
okay.
Yeah. So it was the corruption of the party and also the police, because they are talking to the governor and I mean they all are failures at the end of the day. So the dreams were broken really,
right. Well, and of course that takes us actually to the final scene, as
yes.
it were, in the film, and its ambiguity, because we have the comandante pointing the gun at Caiman. We go to White, and then we see them all dressed on the beach. Now, what do you make of that final scene in the film?
Oh, for a moment, it was quite optimistic, because we thought, they made it.
Right.
But then to see them again in White, it wasn't quite there. The Caiman's mother was not the same person that appeared throughout the movie. And also the last two sentences, that it was like, it's beautiful to see, it's beautiful to dream of life.
Right.
And it was just so fantastic, and it really touched my heart, because that we have this fascination with death and life in Mexico, and that was quite nice to see him on the
We're going to have to stop at this point with the fascination with death in Mexico.
Thank you.
If you'd like more information about City Cinematheque, the best way to get it is to go through our website at www.cuny.tv. Again, visit www.cuny.tv. You can click on City Cinematheque for our calendar of films, or you can click on news about all the other programming at CUNY TV. You'll also find ways to communicate with us by email, and we look forward to hearing from you. Araceli, it's a pleasure having you here to explain things about Mexico, its arts, its culture. I hope we'll have the pleasure of having you again on City Cinematheque.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great. And I hope that you'll join us again here on City Cinematheque as we explore the archives of international film history. In any case, thanks for joining us today, and bye-bye for now.